Evil Inside VR is a first-person psychological horror game. After the death of his mother and the arrest of his father, Mark tries to contact her using a spiritual Ouija board, but it explodes mysteriously, unleashing terrifying paranormal events. You take the role of Mark, a teenager now responsible for his little brother, and you must collect the scattered fragments of the board to reconnect with his mother and uncover the truth behind what happened.
Mom?
Evil Inside VR is an adaptation of the original flat-screen game by JanduSoft, which was released back in March 2021. Fast forward to today, and independent Spanish dev team Bowl of Tentacles have brought this game into VR, and generally VR makes everything better, like we know. Of course, there can be very much a learning curve when it comes to making VR games, and in essence, this is not a game they've built from the ground up. This is a flat to VR adaptation, and of course, they're still finding their feet in the industry, and I want to support them, and I really do think they're doing some great things with this game.
My mom is dead, my father in prison, and I have to take care of my little brother.
I'll start with the positives. The sense of presence in this game is particularly good. Your hands are solid on virtually all objects. You can touch items and you are physically connected, and there's quite a lot of items you can physically grab and actually turn over. Proper VR physics handling, where you can look and grab it from any angle. I love this in VR games, and Bowl of Tentacles really have nailed this. And then the dynamic lighting. Even on the Quest version, the lighting, when you've got your torch, it does cast realistic shadows across most items. And on the PSVR2 version, this is even more increased, even with your hands having shadows. There's a lot more dynamic lighting in the PSVR2 version. It's this attention to detail, but I really do think that Bowl of Tentacles can do something great in the future. Even on the PSVR2 version, just touching your hands onto the walls, doors, objects has tactile response because of the haptics. This unfortunately is missing from the Quest version, so I do think, again, the PSVR2 version stands out on its own with this. Of course, I do have to point out the negatives, and the biggest one of all for Evil Inside VR is that it's incredibly short. Again, this is not a fault of the developer Bowl of Tentacles, it's more the original game, but they've adapted for VR. Of course, I was just playing straight through, which I did on the Quest version. It only took me about an hour, so there's not a great deal of content here for the money you're paying for it. But is it a good experience? I do like the atmosphere, and I like to see what they're trying to develop. But right now, I'd have to say the Quest version is the better version because there's some big issues with the PSVR2 version. But Bowl of Tentacles are aware of these and they are working hard to fix these. Of course, they are a very small team and they are working on a priority list on which is most annoying and trying to get it all fixed up. So, as of right now, you may want to wait for the PSVR2 version. For those technical people out there, and I do know it can be very important, the main problems with the PSVR2 version is the mirror is very noticeable and the reprojection is also very noticeable. There's a few other things in there as well, but I think sometimes these can be the big selling point for people when it comes to VR games on the PlayStation VR 2. I also need to point out that the flat screen version of Evil Inside on the PS5 is only $9.99, and the release price for Evil Inside VR is $11.99. This more closely matches what it's available on Steam for, but I think pricing it above what the flat screen version is kind of may be a sticking point for other people as well. Overall, if you're a fan of these walking narrative type adventures, I think you can get some fun out of Evil Inside VR, but I'll leave that up to you. So let me know in the comments, do you want to support devs so they can get bigger and better? Do you want to support the industry? Or do you just want to pass it by? Let me know down in the comments.